So noting that it's 7:04 on October 2nd, 2019, I'm calling the Board of Health meeting to order. And we have a number of items to discuss, no fixed hearings. So there are also a few items to be added as not reasonably anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of the meeting. So we'll go through them and then we can vote whether to amend the agenda with some or all. There is an emergency well replacement for 140 South Main. We have a EEE update. We have an issue with our now malfunctioning printer, scanner, copier, fax machine, and we have a special permit application for 100. Is there any discussion or anything else anyone would like to add? And if not, we have a motion to amend the agenda with these 4 items.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, let me mark for a whole bunch of these.
Printer.
Okay. Excellent choice.
Well, yesterday, the printer, scanner, copier that I use behind my desk died. Just won't turn on, won't do anything. So I spent all morning today with tech support. And the guy told me nothing he can do. Bring it somewhere. He gave me where to bring it in Bellingham if I wanted to get it repaired. So they said, I called them, I have to bring it to them, will cost $90 for them just to look at it, and then whatever it is to repair it. It's 4 years old. The town did not buy it. It was purchased with grant funds, regional grant funds, emergency preparedness, 4 years ago. So, but they don't offer that. We can't buy things anymore with the grant funding, so they won't replace it. So I desperately need it. So I need to either have you tell me to bring it to get repaired, or I did get 2 quotes to replace it with a very similar, you know, it would still be color, because I do use the color, in the scanner copier. We do have it as a fax machine too for confidential things. We still do get faxed. From Staples, it would be $499.99, and from W.B. Mason, it was $619.99. Yeah, big difference for the same machine. But then I would also need the toner.
Okay, so there are a couple things. Ellen mentioned that we have confidential information that the Board of Health deals with, so that's something that we can't always use the centralized equipment in the building for that kind of thing. So we do need it. Also, I'm sure it just makes your work more efficient when you're not holding it down all day for printing things, as people come in and ask for copies of applications and recording language and that sort of thing. You know, I'm certainly open to ideas, but one thing I was thinking is it's a hassle to try to get it to the repair place, is one thing. It's physically a large piece of equipment. Ellen can't do that by herself. They're only open during the hours where she is working, so we would need to have her, you know, leave the office and spend all the time to do that and have help somehow. So logistically, it's a bit of a problem unless there is some other person in town who does that kind of thing on behalf of the town. And let's say if it's another $90 plus $100 to repair it, you know.
Let's try $500 to repair it. Okay.
So, and then the other thing I think is we could also offer it to someone for a donation if they're willing to try to fix it, because maybe it's something that someone handy could do, or an organization.
I would first have to see what the region wants, because they actually own it.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I think it's going to be a lot of time and effort to run around and try to,
Resurrected
yes,
32,000 hour old printer.
so. Right, lost service time being here, I mean, there's more value, so you start adding that up, and it's getting close to the cost of a printer, so. You know, anybody else have ideas about?
They're throwaways now. They deliberately make them so that they're,
Planned obsolescence.
What?
Like planned obsolescence.
well,
yeah.
also very difficult or impossible to repair
Fix,
other
yeah.
than replacing the consumables, so.
Okay, and as Ellen said, they standardly offer a 4-year warranty. It died at 2 months before 4 years. We didn't have a warranty, but, so, they did a very good job engineering that.
It should have lasted 4 years and 3 months if they did a really good job.
So, shall we vote? This is a
Yeah,
votable
yeah,
item. So, do I have a motion to authorize Ellen to acquire a new printer, scanner, copier, fax machine from Staples, unless someone else comes up with a more competitive price, and check with the region to find out what they'd like us to do with the current one, and if not, maybe call over to Keefe Technical or something to see if they would like to take on some
So moved.
electronics
Second.
project. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, so Triple E update. No reports of.
Other than there's another positive horse today in Spencer. So the mosquitoes are still there. People should,
Seems like it's gonna really cool down though, the temperature next week at night, so.
but cool.
I know, it
unless
needs to be a
it's-
hard frost.
Two hard fronts.
Yeah.
2?
Well, 1 to kill them and 2 to be sure.
Yeah.
So people should continue with personal protection, and the other thing that we can talk about in more depth at another meeting, just to plant it in your heads, is since they seem to say that this kind of thing comes in waves, batches of a few years, sequential years, I expect we might encounter it again, and there's certainly been a lot of discussion on various fronts about it, and whether, and I don't think the Board of Health can do it all, but whether we might see if there are any other residents of town who are interested in participating in some kind of research task force to address the questions that have been coming up from folks that I can see on Nextdoor and what have you, but
As in the spraying concerns? or-
spraying, right, even more data on what does it really mean. I don't know if it exists out there, but is it that just by virtue of being bit by an infected mosquito, you're 100% going to get it or not?
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd want to
No.
change people's behavior
Yeah.
on that, but I don't know if there's more information that would be useful or not, but we don't have to decide that. I just wanted to put it out there as a possibility. So, some people did comment that they thought their animals didn't seem too healthy, happy, when they went outside the next day, if they were licking their fur and there was still residual or something like that. I don't know
I
why.
have 3 and mine seem fine. Anecdotally.
Tripoli's been around
Animals
for
and they seem fine.
generations.
Dead or sick?
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
it's been reported.
you will
right.
not catch it if you get bitten unless, usually the populations that are affected are immune suppressed or have a serious underlying problem. I mean, the problem is
Yeah, I
the
know
most
they,
vulnerable
see, they always
populations.
mention that with West Nile. They never say with Triple E that that's an issue. Just that
Well, it's-
it tends to affect children, but
appears
they
to be.
seem to imply it's for different reasons.
It's in the last weeks.
It appear, I mean, that was sort of
Okay, anyway, we could
the
talk
reason
about
that
that another
protection is the
time.
best method, because
Oh, yeah. Okay. How about collaborating with the Dover Board of Health? had a call with, as you saw in my note, one of the Dover Board Health members, who's also a physician. They're interested in doing more and having periodic joint meetings. I think they might have fewer meetings than we do. I did mention that our schedule, we have 2 meetings a month. I think they're more monthly, perhaps, and not in the summer. And whether it should be on an issue basis. I think they're inclined to having a routine meeting, whether it's every few months.
It's a good idea.
So,
You mean in lieu of one of our meetings, not in
no, we
addition to?
can't. No,
Yeah.
it
Can't do it.
can't be in lieu,
Yeah.
because we have too much stuff.
I'm not inclined.
Why can't we have a meeting?
I'm not gonna have
jurisdictional piece where-
additional meetings.
No, I'm not proposing that either.
Well, that's what,
That's,
That's what-
I don't see
That's-
how
Why
we could
couldn't we
take
do
up.
something where,
Oh,
once
a year?
the combined thing takes place at a pre-existing site, on a date that's already set
Okay.
aside, and they just have the joint agenda items
all right.
scheduled out.
Here's an option then, is we invite them to our meetings.
That's what I was
Because I don't think we can give up on any, even though today's not as busy
And so,
as some, but we have usually really packed meetings. So the idea of canceling one of ours here and going to Dover, but I could offer that they could come
I
here.
guess, like,
and
what's
be
the
one
problem
of
we're
our
trying,
agenda
like,
items.
I love meetings. What's the problem we're trying to solve, though?
I mean, I
Like,
think.
if we're sort of like, we want a
I-
coordinated health
I
response.
think for certain things surrounding the school district, which are infrequent, it makes sense to be aligned in things of whether it's flu, triple E messaging. So I think it's a small collection of items, and then I think, we don't really share other resources with them as a town. They have different water supply, they have sort of a different structure in their town for water supply. They have a lot of private wells, but they also have more community wells, and they have, well suppliers, water suppliers, so it's a little bit different.
I mean, there is a lot of overlap, but
No, there's totally overlap, but
yeah.
like the same, like, I think the question of like, if we say, we think you should do this at the middle school, and they don't, we
Right.
as a board still have no jurisdiction despite the fact that it's our middle school students who go there. The
and
school itself,
ultimately, it's the school's choice.
right,
Anyway.
Right.
So,
But I think it would be
might
good
what
to-
we're recommending.
I think it would, for things surrounding the regional schools, I do think it wouldn't be a bad thing for us to just kind of hit the big picture items and just have brief discussions and make sure we're aligned or hear different perspectives if they have them. So we could have a portion of one of our meetings agenda dedicated to, Dover/Sherborn combined, issues.
Right.
And make it a small list, and
Yeah.
they're more than
Or
welcome.
how about we start with one, which, again, if Triple E is going to come up again next year, that might, given that's maybe fresh on our minds, if we have a light
Yeah,
agenda,
tick-borne disease
anytime
is
we could invite
definitely-
them
And
for
ticks,
that.
yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Just remember for Triple E, they're part of the Norfolk County Mosquito Control District, and Sherborn is Central Mass Mosquito Control District, so that makes it a
Do
little.
they use the same agents?
Hmm?
Probably they're
The same
all
what?
state agents.
Chemical.
Materials.
Oh, yeah.
More
Yeah,
than
so
likely,
see,
I don't know
We're
what,
using
well,
the same
for aerial
material.
spraying, I don't know if they had aerial spraying, but that's the state, but I would assume, but I don't know what the different mosquito
So
control
it
districts
doesn't
use.
matter really. I mean,
And in terms of what to do with, like, if there should be alterations to school schedules, athletic schedules, like the school elected to do this year, I think that's something,
Okay, so, so the Triple E would be something that could be certainly a near-term item. Their issue on tick-borne disease management is, I guess, they might be leading the charge on the deer culling over in Dover. And I said here, it's handled by a different group. We do it. There is also, other groups have arranged to have the state biologist who came to speak to us about what does it mean to manage deer populations, what's their status, what's the trends, all sorts of issues around it and talk to people about what hunting means and what culling means. And we would need to eliminate hundreds of deer a year.
The impact.
So,
yeah.
You also have to
I
get
know
rid of
early on
mice
they were
and
getting maybe 14 or something a year.
Other
They
mammals.
said it might be up to 30 over in Dover. So, but that's an approach that they take, and I guess they provide information to folks. I think we have links, though. In any case, and I really haven't encountered anyone yet in Sherborn who isn't aware of tick issues. So, being that we're tick central, Lyme central here. So, all right, if you're amenable to a Tripoli discussion, people in general willing, if they come here.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will talk to Stephen Crooksall again and ask, how we move ahead with maybe setting up an appointment with them. Oh, and the other issue I think they're going to want to talk about is they're digging deeper into what they feel is an anti-vaxxer issue. So that might be something that they want to talk about. Would you want to have that as a separate meeting, or?
What was that issue?
Combine it?
What was that issue? Anti-vaxxer.
Which we're
I
not
would
sure
say-
we have an anti-vaxxer as opposed to people who. Any thoughts on whether it should be at the same meeting or save that issue for a different meeting?
Wait, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
So I
They're
think they've
concerned
got
about
some concern about
anti-vaxxing.
like vaccination rates in the regional school. And so is that another topic that we'd want to have
I
addressed?
thought we confirmed it was
I think when we
exceedingly
looked
high.
at it in the data when we talked about this like a year ago,
Yeah.
it was not something that concerned us based
No.
on available data.
Yeah,
They feel that they're
well, maybe they have a,
different information, but,
maybe they have a different
I don't have
population.
details.
I don't think that's something
okay.
that raises an alarm bell just based on the statistics that we
Yeah.
saw.
Okay, so we'll stick to the Tripoli and then we can explore other things after, as needed. Let's see.
So you all agreed to that, right? It's just an agreed.
Okay. So I can't recall which was the issue that.
174.
174 is the.
Yeah, I'm representing for George Those.
Okay.
Oh, okay, good.
I'm the caretaker.
Thank you, there it is. Okay.
Probably knows the land the best.
Yeah. Have no choice.
Did you sign in?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you.
Would you like me to present that one?
Yes.
As the board can see, it's for a new well. I've been working with the well driller, and you can come up if you'd like. You can help us guide us through.
Oh, yes.
It's an estate. It has three houses on it. Three houses there.
Correct.
Caretaker in the front, and there's two houses in the back. And it's quite big, so I don't want to hit the microphone, so, or I don't think I'll be friendly with the guy working on the corner over there. Let me see. Here's the street. Here's the street. Here's the caretaker's house. And this is the main house back here with a big circular driveway. And then there's another house over here. There's an existing well for house 172, which is this house. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep,
You know,
no, right.
I went over a couple times with the well driller.
Yep.
There's a lot of water lines on this property. He did say, excuse me.
Is this on, can you just orient me a little bit, because there's no cross street, so as you're heading forest towards farm, how, is it on the, if you're heading
It's on the
towards,
right as the road curves and goes to a sharp.
to the final descent?
on the
So-
right.
Okay, I
Yeah,
know
so
the
that
property.
way. Yep.
Okay, I just wanted to,
This is all on
It's one up
Charles
from the
River
curb.
side.
Charles River's down here.
right.
And it's a large estate. You really
Yeah,
cannot
yeah.
see these homes from the
No,
street.
you can see,
The driveway.
yeah,
see that.
the
It's a
character,
little
yeah,
cottage.
yeah,
You can see this one from the street.
Yep.
actually.
okay.
But it's amazing. I went there about 20 years ago, and I was like, wow, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't know it's back there. But anyways, the water lines have little W's, so I did ask the well driller, and he said you would confirm these are water gates, they're not wells.
Yeah, with the W's on there, they just those shut-off valves.
Yeah, that's fine. So,
Yeah, just in case of something.
It's right now, there's one well serving 3 homes.
well, that's the question. I thought you had 2 wells serving 2 homes, is that correct?
This well right here.
Yep, goes all the way around to serve that one, correct?
Yep. And then there's another.
There's a connection from, go ahead.
No, yeah,
There's
no.
all this back connections here. There's a water line going like this and all the way to here. So I believe this house is connected to this well.
There is.
Goes to the pond.
Yeah, this is a vegetable garden. Comes over here and then tees off. Like I said, these are all those little the W's.
For the water gates.
Correct. Yes.
So their proposal was to propose a well location. Originally it was here, and I told them you have to be the appropriate distance from the septic system on the caretaker's house, so they're now 175. There's no knowledge if it's a fast perking soil or not, so they went the distance. They had plenty of space out here, so they had and it's 175 from the well too.
And it would so be, so how would stuff connect post new well? So is this is an additional
Well, the
well?
well driller said they're gonna connect it to the old piping, but.
Correct.
if I'm wrong.
Yes. Yep. From there, they go to.
So this is a replacement well, not an additional well?
It's an additional well, correct?
Yeah. Correct.
So is
because
there
they
only
wanted-
one well right now? I'm still confused
Yes,
with that.
this one well that's here.
Oh, okay.
And it's
But there's
serving 3
2
residences.
houses.
Correct.
3 houses,
So,
right.
George wanted to have a well just for that house there.
Okay.
The caretaker house.
So the existing well still is gonna continue to serve the other 2?
Correct.
This one here.
Because he didn't want to have, just in case, he just wanted to have a single well for that household.
Okay, which is the smallest of
Yes,
5
yeah.
and 3.
So there'll be 2 wells on a 3-house campus.
But will would the new proposed well, did you say that's also gonna be used for irrigation for the veggie
No.
garden, or the existing well is serving all those purposes?
Correct.
Okay.
Would not be anything to do with the
Okay.
irrigation.
Okay.
That's why we.
Yeah, yes.
That was a question I asked him, and he wasn't, the well driller wasn't sure if you were.
Nothing. I mean, soil there is like butter, it's so old and nice.
Yeah.
Soil, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, are there any,
No waivers needed.
okay.
Be a new well, has to follow all the requirements, pump test at the well as well as a quality test at the well. If those are okay, then they can tie them to the house and do a tap test in the house. We would follow that procedure. I know they're anxious to get going because of the winter, even though we say it's not too far away.
Can I ask a question? I think this seems fairly straightforward, but let me just throw a little wrinkle question in. So with the new accessory structure modification in our regulations that people can build accessory structures that they can rent out for for money, would our changed existing regulation permit them to install a second well to serve a new accessory structure? This is
Well, this
different.
isn't a-
I know, no, I'm saying, I understand.
Just asking.
I'm just asking a question. This has no bearing, but it's just making me
Yeah.
think, because that's a
Could
small
that- that
house,
could
and
happen.
and it makes sense, and it's existing structure. It's a very different, and plus you have three houses on this property and 2 wells, so that's clearly not excessive. But I don't know. I'm just asking. I'm just throwing that question
I would
out.
ask the board to consider the existing well if it's to support the new accessory unit. That would be the best bet if we can.
What I
No,
would say is-
I understand
What I'd say
that.
is, like, I think that's a good discussion. I think we
Yeah.
should see this with all the regulations as we go live and then have application. I think it
Mm-hmm.
informs further discussion. For this one, it seems like all of us
This
feel
is-
like
yeah.
this.
This
meets
checks all the
criteria
boxes that.
with the new regulations, because
Yeah.
it's a single well for a single dwelling.
Right.
There's an existing multi-dwelling well.
Right.
But it's one property? Is it officially one property?
I'm sure it's. This is so huge. I can't believe it's one
that
lot.
part, I mean, I don't
Okay.
really,
But I'd say-
Are there any odd slippery slope issues? There's something that we're not anticipating?
It's because
that
it's more than like, is it multiple lots? It's serving multiple existing residences.
Right.
And I think that's what the regulations were articulating. So I don't see this as in conflict with the regulation.
Like I'm looking at the revised regulation, from my standpoint, looks compliant to me.
Right, and so each house has their own septic? Is that it?
This house here, it goes out that way. That one was put in
Something-
while I was here.
Yeah,
It's the main
now
house.
so by the.
Okay, and then that one has.
Correct.
I don't know, you might have put that in while I was here as well.
Okay.
It's 10.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it's
35 years to that,
Yeah.
I think. that's
Yeah, I
the
wasn't really
main house.
sure about it.
Okay, that's what I
I
thought.
think they both had during my time.
All right,
Okay.
so you're recommending approval? Okay, so we have a motion to approve the new well for 170 Forest Street.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you for showing too, because it is a little different.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
The well driller was coming from a distance, so he said the caretaker will know more about the property.
Yeah, no, that's great. So- Right, and I think when it first came, it was presented as an irrigation well, and that
Yeah.
we would have had some issue.
And so the permit will be issued later tonight, and
Wait
we'll call
for
tomorrow
it.
morning, and we'll call tomorrow morning, and well drillers like to have that permit in hand, so just ask Alan, she'll be here tomorrow.
Or Jean.
Or Jean.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
Good night.
Have a good night, Chris.
Okay, so it's, we have an appointment at 7:30, 28 Pleasant Street, the review of a preliminary building application. So are you?
I think they're presenting, because he has to be on the agenda, so would you like to present, or?
I mean, I'm gonna stick with kind of what was original.
Come on up. That's probably the best. You know these better than I do. I did review the plans. This house had a new septic system put in 2015, that time period.
16, so, and there was always the consideration for additional flow. It was new construction, and I'll pull the septic plan in a minute, and what they have is Pleasant Street, come up to the main house here, and the barn is gonna be connected. I'll let you explain that while I pull the septic plan. You might wanna
Show you on
go to the bigger plan. There.
this was when I built my house before, we had always proposed a future barn bathroom. And so essentially the footprint is relatively close to this. I just gotta get a new plan that has it exactly, but, so a new tank connecting to, pumping up to the existing system.
Yeah, exactly. This,
Oh,
they
okay.
did provide back in, this one goes to 2015. The board did see this one.
Yep.
There was originally a proposal to go with, let me orientate myself, Pleasant Street is right here. And here's the bond proposed.
Yep.
They were originally doing a septic tank, but in other cases, engineers are starting to put pumps here, break the flow down. So it's either way. They can either pump solids or they can pump liquid. So in this case, I think you want to go with just the pumping solids, and like a E85, I think they call them environmental pumps, like they use in sewer systems. So that's been proposed. No, that's the same plan I just
Yeah,
showed you.
that's the same.
But you're not going with that plan, correct? You're going with a different scenario now?
Well,
I mean, that works, just so you know.
yeah, that's, so I may just stick with this.
Yeah, I would suggest it, but we've seen others now, they're using these E85 pumps, and they pump the raw up, but then you have to break it down.
No, I think he's gonna break it down and then pump.
And you have that plan, it
Yeah,
just
yeah.
needs to be renewed.
Yes, so,
Well, let me see, what's the date on that stamp?
2015.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, so
That's new then.
it hasn't ever been renewed, so the board had got
So it's
approved on
expired.
April 29th of 2015. Usually it gets renewed in 2 years, it didn't. I don't see the need to change it within the codes, because it's just a septic tank, but that'll have to be up to the board if you wish for them to renew it, or
He would just submit the same drawing and.
I just followed the process because I think
Yeah,
it's
it's-
tricky to not follow the process.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would be a new submittal.
Lose some
For
of
the-
this.
So what does that mean?
Have your engineers
Yeah, that's fine. I was going to resubmit,
Whoever does it, I don't know if you.
because like I said, the footprint of the building has changed.
Oh, then you'd have it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and submit for permit,
That's the best.
this week, so, I'm gonna get my engineer to finish things off.
Okay, and nothing about whatever's taking place. I saw there's a bathroom inside the barn, but,
It's a
Yeah,
sports
that's-
barn,
that's-
is what it is. It's
So-
it's basketball hoop and
Oh, all right.
batting cage and stuff.
It's a 6-bedroom house, new construction, so they built the house, and when they built it, I think you knew back then you were gonna be doing this, so, we can walk through the house if you'd like.
I guess if we're not re-adjudicating, can we just sign off? Like,
Yeah,
if we
no.
said this plan was compliant before
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
as long as
submitting
it-
the
Yeah,
plan.
that's the
Met the
second
room
plan,
count
but
and all
you've
the
never
rest
seen the
before.
barn plan. You've seen different versions of the barn plan.
And is this
So
the latest one?
This is the latest one with the basketball hoop. You might
Okay.
have had some of this back then too. I can't remember.
I didn't put it all in, no, it was
Yeah.
just kind of a general.
So, here's the house, he's gonna connect it to the house,
okay.
and come in this, I believe this way, to come into the garage and for the tractors, and that same floor will have a basketball.
Oh, all right.
We have another, we had another house on Woodland that had a basketball court, and then upstairs is gonna be a playroom with a full bathroom,
Okay.
and that's why we have to get to the house, that would count as a bedroom.
Mhm.
And, so, that's a picture of the barn, and that's pretty much it for the barn, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, because you
That's
need
all it
that
is.
height for the basketball.
Yep, that's fine.
And I know I saw floor plans of this.
I have them, like, probably, I don't know if I have the existing
I saw
house. I gave them, but
They're
they're,
here, they're on smaller plans,
Yeah.
so I'm saying, I know I saw them. So this is the basement of the house. It's, you walk in, and reading up exercise room, game room, office, lower level, and I can't read that, it's
Mudroom.
mudroom. So that's 3 rooms.
Oh, that's the
No-
basement level.
Yeah, the basement. No enclosed bathrooms within these rooms. There's a bathroom in the hallway here. Then upstairs, you have the family room, you have the kitchen, eating area, you have a study, so there's 6.
Yep.
And then the master bedroom, so there's 7. 7 with 1 bedroom. And remember, we go up to 13 rooms, 6 bedrooms. So upstairs, we have 3 bedrooms, so we're only up to 4 bedrooms.
Right, but if you
Five
counted
bedrooms.
room count, it would be,
But then you gotta do the room count.
Yeah.
No, but it's also, like, so right now we'd say we've got 1 bedroom on the first floor.
You'd be up to
3 bedrooms on the-
5.
That one with
Yeah.
the
you'd be up
down.
to 5 if
With
you
the
did it by
barn.
room
With the
count.
barn.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
But you said it's a
5,
6,
6,
right?
it's a 6-bedroom,
seven.
Yeah, so, all
I
right.
like these kind of plans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
9, 10.
Okay, sounds great.
Any other
Yeah.
place, if you want to count, they're up to 12, they gotta have 13.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
that
Yep.
13th room could be your 3rd floor bedroom.
So in terms of,
Okay,
You do have the capacity.
okay.
okay. So
But I
do we
would ask-
have,
We're not encouraging
No, no, I'm
it.
not, don't worry. I think this will pretty much break me at this point.
Yeah.
I'll be done.
yeah, what's the purpose? So it sounds like,
all right, actually, we
The
don't need to vote
recommendation
on
would be to
anything
do a
right now.
typical inspection, make sure the system's good.
Okay, so,
Because it was approved in 2014, 15 November, so it's 4 years old. I would ask that, it won't take much, because they know where everything is, just to do a Title V inspection, just to make sure it's functioning properly. I pray to God it is, it's only 4 years old.
Yeah, no, it's, well, I get the
As long as you
yearly
took care of it.
reviews and all that, I get the
pumping.
submitted to you and the
Yeah.
yearly stuff.
So I would ask that,
Just
just
the flow system.
prior to any approval, that we get a Title V inspection report and a new septic plans,
yeah,
process the fees and application. And so we'll have septic fees, this is- So that's, I
So-
believe, what you wanted to ask the board.
Yeah, that's it, I just wanted to, because I didn't want to run into any roadblocks when
yeah.
I submit the
And of
permit.
course, it's always subject to whatever comes in on the plans that he reviews, but if it's as you're
Yeah,
stating, then it
those are the
should
plans.
be fine.
Yeah, that's what it is.
You did the right thing by figuring out what you wanted to do back in 2015.
Yeah.
So it allows you to know how to do it.
have a good night.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
And these are the nice ones when we can.
So what I can do is septic, just like this cost septic, I have to leave that about.
Yeah, they can do, and it shouldn't take much, because they know where everything is. They can name all the points from the house to find which part.
So before I get the permit, you'll have to have it.
Yeah, just make it's not functioning, go back and step and figure out what happened.
Like I said, it's being,
It should be fine.
Thank you. Right.
All right, so we're gonna do ledge disruption next. And
Yeah, no.
ready?
So that's why I kept looking.
You go. Ready for ledge disruption? So, I haven't had a moment because of other Board of Health business that's come up in the past week to work any further on the ledge disruption notification and that sort of thing that we had talked about last time. And if anyone would like to volunteer, that would be great. And we've also received some questions about ledge disruption that I think, one thing that came to mind since there were questions about the background to the development of this regulation, and we spent months and months and months discussing it, having done research. David traveled all over talking to folks, other states and state-level organizations who have been working on it. So it might, in addition to what we're planning to have, might be good to have a little something that at least gives people comfort that this is something that we researched. It's a known issue. Here's some of the background
Like a background,
information.
yeah.
Background, it just
Yeah.
happens to be something that is so unpredictable that it's difficult to have the sort of regulation that's just more familiar to people than a notification. So, but it might also help people to understand it if they ever receive such a notification. So that might be something to add to our task. But the other thing regarding this is I think it would be a good idea for us to go back to town council and get further clarification on whether we should be sending out notifications for ledge disruption prior to us updating the regulation to include single-family homes, and just get straight with them whether that is appropriate for us to do or if there are any legal issues around that.
Wait, I guess I'm confused. I
Yeah,
thought
that's-
that
I think that
we
it
were
is.
not providing the notice, that we were saying that the person who wanted to pursue the disruption of more than 10 cubic yards, which
Yes.
is the limit,
Yeah, so I
We
think,
did,
was
but-
going to be
so we
doing.
then had an interval meeting.
Oh, maybe
So I think
that
you
was.
I don't think I wasn't there.
Yeah, I knew you missed
So I think
that.
that,
Okay, so I'm like,
you
what?
guys both had no objections when you were nominated and seconded, so.
I were like,
Yeah.
Sorry, I
So
didn't
I
realize
think
you
the
missed that.
basic issue is, I think that there is so we've had two applications, or we've had two discussions related to the ledge disruption regulations. I think the first was a homeowner who had begun a process of ledge disruption earlier than, so I think that was.
Yeah, I
I remember that one.
So we had that
Yeah.
discussion.
Grandfather.
I think
The
there's
grandfathered, yeah,
I
yeah.
think that there is guidance from town council in terms of the specificity in the language of the regulation as passed that raises questions about whether, as written, it would cover single-family homes, so that was clearly the intent.
Oh,
And so I think that we then said, our goal, like, this is an important thing to do, but if there's a gap in the clear, if we're not completely confident that the regulation as passed is enforceable, then rather than say, we believe it's enforceable, like, town council didn't say it wasn't enforceable.
Right.
They said, there's a question here
Yeah, yeah.
that could be raised, and I think
Okay.
the feeling was to say, let's resolve that question prior to enforcement.
okay.
Then it was a
And,
question of,
just
yeah.
one little piece of that is, in that section of the regulation where it is, because it fit with other like issues, there is then a section there that says, even though this is in the projects other than a single-family home
okay, yeah, yeah.
section,
Yeah.
then there's a section that says, but these regulations will also apply to
To
this
single-
section, this section, this
I
section,
see.
and we missed including our new section.
So I think that the
So,
proposed regulation change
as
may
it is
simply
now,
be
right.
including that sections in that listing. But if that's not done, then the question is, does it apply to a
So you're saying as it exists now?
as the regulation is passed, I think a
Yeah.
question could be raised, so the intention of the board was clear, and she
Yeah.
didn't say we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Our feeling as
It's
a
ambiguous.
as a quorum but incomplete board was that if we're not totally confident, we wouldn't, or we would like it to be as robust as possible, given that we're having a regulation that was coming and replacing an absence of any regulation, that it was better, as my grandmother would say, a stitch in time saves nine, to say get it right, rather than to say, I think this is legal, but somebody else may think differently. And so then it was a conversation to say, if we're gonna do that, the question was then, you know, similar to the previous vaping conversation, it just doesn't need a public hearing. I think same as that conversation, the feeling was, if we're gonna do this, whether, again, if it might require a public hearing, we should do a public hearing so people have a
I
chance
see.
to participate and opine. So that's sort of the broad context. And then the question came up within the context of a specific project that may involve ledge disruption. Since the plan or the intention was to cover single-family homes that had disruptions in excess of the 10 cubic yards, though the applicant would have no requirement, given that the board intended to communicate and notify abutters.
Then the
But
question-
the board then kind of
Take that
voluntarily
on.
take that on to say, our goal isn't to delay notification of abutters. On the flip side, one could argue there's no regulatory role for this. There aren't other places that we do it, and so the feeling was we probably need some more guidance from town council to inform that.
Okay. You know, one thing I noticed, because I'm the LSP for Westford, which had a perchlorate problem that affected many, many residents in town that had to be hooked up to public water supply because blasting occurred, went through fractures, impacted many people's wells, which was a blasting agent. It wasn't just the blasting itself. And so what they do, and what I've seen other towns do, is they actually put a notice on the website saying ledge disruption or blasting is going to be occurring on this date at this location. And so, just spitballing here, if we were going to put a background piece on saying, here's why we're interested in people being aware that ledge disruption could occur, here's what can happen, you know, with the fractures and then the migration of metals that are in the bedrock to people's water supply, so it's not an aesthetic issue, it's a potential, you know, contamination issue, to get a sample of the water if you're in proximity to where we're posting that disruptions occurs. I mean, maybe that way we can just, people can be informed, it's a little more passive, but doesn't, you know, we don't take on the obligation of writing letters to individual homeowners. We're posting information that, you know, disruption is, you know, proposed on these dates. And then if people couple that with an awareness like, oh, so I live right near that, I should sample my well. It's not ideal, but
Yeah.
as a stopgap.
Because I have to say, I do look at the website, I would guess more than most people in town, but I
Yeah,
have
I
a
don't-
driver
yeah.
to go and check on things that people are asking questions about,
Yeah,
so.
we could put it on next door. No.
Yeah, that would be really good.
So,
No, I'm teasing. We
but,
could have a mole do it.
And actually, Boxborough is another town that has they banned perchlorate because of similar problems
Right.
with water quality, widespread water quality problems.
But so now, I'm just saying, like, so there's different mechanisms besides us taking on the responsibility of providing, you know, individual
Right.
homeowners notification. It's better than nothing. It's not ideal, but it's something.
Oh, I see, in this particular
In this-
instance, I see.
Yeah,
what you
in
mean.
this
Yeah.
interim period.
Okay, so anyway, if, do we have a motion?
To seek
That-
further guidance from
yeah,
town
that
council.
That sounds good.
Motion for what?
Excellent
To seek
motion.
further guidance from
I'll
town
move
council.
that.
Yes.
And do we have
So
a second?
moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Any, okay. Let's see, Mark.
We did 170 Forest Street.
I feel like we did awesome.
Yep. So we have,
So now
which ones we have are
157
140.
What's 157 Farm Road?
157 Farm Road is Dudley Willis's property.
And so that's
and-
another new well?
And it's a new well, but Ellen reminded me, I was getting too anxious on Friday to get these plans on the, other plans too, on the agenda, and I forgot they didn't get conservation. They are seeing conservation tomorrow. It's up to the board if you want to wait the 2
Approve it
weeks.
conditional.
Or
that
approve
it
it
doesn't
conditional,
have
as
to-
Ellen just noted. And then I have a couple questions on it.
Is this a replacement well?
Well, they don't talk about what they're planning. It says the existing water lines to be capped here at 177 Farm. And it talks about, here, I can open
I
it.
think we need to establish this.
Let me bring a plan up.
Like, if that's
look at
kind of
one
the
and
big,
everyone else can have
is it in
it.
conflict
Shit.
with our regulation or not?
There. Excuse me, it's either pollen or...
Oh, look at here.
No, not pollen.
Doesn't help too much.
Is this
Yeah.
another map without
Where's the
the whole property?
Existing water supply. But where's the, is this the
Yeah.
existing?
Well staked in place.
So that's proposed?
Plans that don't have
Yeah.
plans. Right?
So, well, he shows the septic, he shows the house, he shows
That doesn't show the.
Where's the existing well?
the existing well's in the front of the house.
Where?
Maybe
Where
that
the W is, it's not a circle with a
should be.
hexagon or whatever that might be there. It's just a W.
So what's happening now? This is 157.
Well, so what's happening with that well?
That's the question I would have.
I mean, I can't even consider this unless I know that.
I don't like the idea of merely capping as an explanation,
Yeah.
because that still implies the
No,
whole
no, I think,
well
I
in
think
it.
we need to say.
No,
like,
this
what
is
are you
no-
actually doing
yeah.
and stuff.
So the
Yeah.
engineer should
We need
come
more
back
information.
with a larger plan for the entire
So I
well.
think,
Yeah.
so I think a complete plan, and I think also just describing in more detail.
Purpose.
Does it satisfy the Sherborn regulations? One of this is one well per property.
Yep, to
And so-
explain what's happening. with
Per
the-
domicile.
And so that- but-
And where
if your
those
plan is
lines
up-
are and where they're getting cut, and
But also, like, so it's saying this something to 177 and this is 157, so is the existing structure two dwellings from one well? Like,
I
what's
don't believe so, but I can ask that
But
question.
just 'cause
It's a
they're
large
saying-
property.
existing supply line to be capped here and at 177 Farm Road, and this is 157 Farm
Okay,
Road?
I'm sorry.
So I think they also need to establish.
Is there one house or two houses?
no, it sounds like, and
It
I'm
seems like
wondering if
They might have
this
two
is-
properties in one
One
house.
well, and they're
There's
saying
another
we're-
house up from here that has a driveway that goes along the driveway.
But I think that's the other question for the applicant
Yeah.
is the current structure one where there's two dwellings served by one well, and that will similarly to the.
But then why would they be cutting the lines?
Is it maybe saying we're selling one of the properties or no longer?
Yeah, but if they have two,
So if you have two houses on one well, you may say the old well will still serve 177 Farm Road,
oh,
and the new well will serve 157 Farm Road. But I think like that question needs to be answered for us to be able to put the way.
This is not clear enough.
All right, that
That's
was.
why I wasn't ready for you as well.
Yeah, okay.
okay,
Oh,
so that was
140
fast.
140 South Main Street.
Emergency well
That's an
replacement.
emergency well
Well,
replacement.
that seems pretty reasonable.
Did
And,
it dry up?
Fail or
yeah,
dry
He
up?
according
said it's
to
dried up.
Oh, wow.
He
Yon,
said he's got a
With this-
tank.
it's
He
got a water
had a tank
over
of water brought in.
Wow.
And we did have the engineer
This is like a
update this
pretty.
one.
So do we know why their existing well went dry? Is it,
It's a point well is what the owner said. Which means the point
Shallow.
well was pushed into the ground. It's a point.
a dry point?
Well,
oh
it's
my-
like a 25-foot.
Oh my God, it's an overburden
We're
well.
actually banging into the ground.
Yeah.
with a point well.
Well, that
Impressive
seems
they-
that they did this well.
Well, I'm glad that they're going to be installing a bedrock well, I presume.
So, this is the approximate location. This is a new plan, the engineer had updated and revised it. The proposed well is close to wetlands, and this is going to conservation tomorrow as well.
Yes, tomorrow night.
And the engineer has shown the distance requirement. This wasn't on the plan, the first plan, so we said make sure there are no other septics within 200 feet. They're showing the soil absorption 125 from the hip of the well.
Okay.
And they're saying there's no other septic shown within 200 feet of the proposed. And the reason they chose this area close to the wetlands is land's very difficult, I guess, for them to get anywhere.
Okay.
And it does have a locust map.
Okay, and they're planning well abandonment,
Yep.
so,
And
It
how-
does
how
have 2
deep?
lots. What's
How
that?
deep are they proposing?
Well, it depends on what they find for water source. They may go 100 to 300 to 500, 1,000 sometimes. That has to be discovered while they're going around. They are designing it on 2 lots. We looked into that. Ellen, did they?
Yep, you should have it on the front
What
of
is
the,
that? That was- This all happened very quickly.
can you
Thank
read
you,
what I
Ellen.
give you?
They're both owned by the same person. Just so
Okay.
you know. Thank you, Ellen.
okay. So, all right, so hopefully if they ever, well, it looks like this is wetlands, so that's
It is.
unlikely to
I
be
would ask that
developed.
it be approved conditional to the conservation commission.
Okay, and does it have to be any condition regarding the abandonment, or that will?
And the well abandonment being
Okay.
conducted as noted, but I think it's important to put that.
Okay. So do we have a motion to approve the well replacement subject to the 2 conditions, the abandonment of the well and receipt of conservation approval?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. I'm sorry.
All right, 100
Go
Maple
up the
Street.
plan. This is what looks like.
Yeah, I think that's a good deal.
This is so exciting.
So 100 Maple Street looks like it's the frontage reduction hearing for the 15th.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to do that one?
Yes, I didn't realize that was the,
Where's this one? I was gonna find this.
It doesn't seem like.
I don't think it
So-
affects our septic or wells. They still have to find water, and they still have to site the septic, and it's a new house.
Yeah.
So it'll be,
And we don't, like, we're just asking the question, about into like, what is it, an 11-acre lot and into a 2-acre lot and a 9-acre lot?
the only thing that's gonna get tough is, but they'll just have, so they're gonna have an existing dwelling that I would find hard to believe will stay much longer, because it's, I think it's the one that's, looks like 2 units or something, 2 or 3 units along Maple Street is my guess, based on this shape. So is this 2.15 acre lot with wetlands on the back,
Oh, there's no numbers on that.
half an acre or more, going to be able to site a septic, replacement septic for whatever goes on there, if needed?
I mean, I'd say it's like,
But I don't know if we can do too much about that.
and also if you don't subdivide it, you still have that wetland in the middle, right?
Yeah,
So you're sort of like, you would have to run septic through wetland to get the house,
yeah,
even if you didn't subdivide the lot.
right.
So maybe a concern worth communicating, but not.
Yeah, that would be reasonable, just to say that the remaining lot 1
So-
might be constrained on what it can do
Right.
with well and septic in the future there.
Yeah.
So, any
Yeah.
other issues, Mark, that you see?
Well, they would
there?
have to prove that they have a
I mean, they'd have to do all the
suitable
usual.
septic and well.
Yeah,
But if they were just saying, we're gonna just divide this, we're not saying
Yeah.
you can build a house on it, we're saying there's
Yeah.
nothing about dividing it that renders 100 Maple uninhabitable from a
Yeah.
Board of Health standpoint.
and the frontage doesn't really matter to us. in
No, it doesn't.
particular. So,
They have been up there years ago. I'd say it was Robinson Engineering back in
All right,
the 90s, and they never submitted the soil test data, so they're gonna have to either submit it or do it over again.
okay, but that's a new, basically a
That's
new
new
property.
construction,
new
right?
Construction.
Yeah. So they have to go through all the,
So would you, Ellen, be able to just put a
Yep.
letter saying that the constraint on that?
Yep.
so
Lot 1, okay.
2020 schedule?
yeah, I was just pulling up my calendar.
Yeah, I don't have any comments, because I don't know what's going to happen in 2020.
I've got hopes.
Yeah, me too. And prayers.
Yeah,
I expect everyone here to be present through the December meetings. By the way.
no pressure, no
Wait,
pressure.
what?
I think we're hoping. and
Not
wondering
December
about different things.
2020.
So, all right. So any particular comments at the moment, or shall we move on in our quest to finish up in 1 minute?
Yeah, 'cause I have to I'll be scheduling variance hearings.
Can we go over the, just through 2019? I just want to make sure I have all the right dates for the meetings, Ellen. So we have
The 16th
16th,
is the next one.
right.
Then
okay.
November 13th and November 20th.
So no November 6th, which would be the usual
That's the
cadence.
moved one. So, can everyone else make the 13th? I had something tentative, but I can not do it.
I can make the 13th. I can't make the 20th because I'm recertifying the following day.
I'll be here on the 20th. I can definitely do it.
Which month are you in?
I'm in November.
As far as I know, I can be here.
So right now it's the 13th and the 20th. Can you make both those dates?
Are we talking about 19 or 20?
November
2019.
This year.
19. So
Yes.
both those dates. And can you make both those dates?
I can make the 13th, and the other date is the 20th.
Yeah.
As far as I know, I can make that as well.
Okay, so I'm not sure, like I said, I have a potential conflict on the 13th. I'll explore that and I'll let Ellen know.
I already scheduled a variance hearing for
Oh,
the
we'll have a
13th.
Well,
No,
before-
it seems like everybody else can make the
I
13th.
don't think we're at risk for a quorum for
Okay,
either.
Okay,
all right.
so I can, so 11/13 is okay. And then what are the December dates? Again,
December 4th and 18th.
so December 4th.
18th is going to be terrible.
It's probably the day my son comes home.
Really?
Yay.
Okay. So the other thing is that there's the Mass Association of Health Boards
Right.
So,
program coming up.
did you vote on the
Oh, did we vote?
2020 meeting date?
Oh, wait, so what are the 20?
They look good.
I didn't,
Over in the packet, under, it looks
This.
like a memo on the top, and this is the second page.
Oh, wait, where?
I did not
It's
get it.
draft.
I see this.
That's
Yeah,
it.
that's it.
Oh, okay. Where are you looking at?
I didn't get it this time. Okay.
Oh, that.
You didn't get, oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay, I know, I did have it. But
All
you
right.
need it.
Do we have
No,
a
I don't.
motion to
You don't need it?
approve
No,
the
because every
schedule
day in
as
that year
proposed?
is okay with me.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye. All right. MHB certificate program for board members.
Well,
Okay,
this
does
is,
anyone
my
wanna
last
go?
meeting's gonna be that day, so,
Which is the,
because my term's up,
Oh, of which day?
May 2020.
Oh, May. I thought you were still talking about December. I'm like,
No.
December? What's happening?
okay, back on, does anyone want to attend
When you're done.
the,
I'm gonna take a picture.
All right. Sorry.
Shenanigans. We can still make 8. We just got to go really fast.
we have to go into different time zone.
All right. Does
Right.
anybody want to go to the MAHB certificate program for board members?
I
I
find those
didn't go
interesting.
last year,
When
so
is
I
it?
guess I better go this year. So, well, let's see, the 11.
They're good to go to.
I like
11,
going to
2
them.
in
What is it?
Marlboro.
November?
Who would want Marlboro? Because I'll sign you up and
Right
pay
on the
for it.
agenda.
November 2nd.
Yeah,
Right here.
Oh, I
I
can't.
knew I saw it, I just don't know where it is.
Or November 6th.
November 2nd and November 16th. I need
They're
to
both
double check.
Saturdays. I'll go to Marlboro in the second.
That Marlboro's where it was, it's been historically, right? That's where I went, I think. Marlboro? Yeah. Let's see.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I went
Yes,
the
you
first
did.
year,
Yes. And then is it okay if I go?
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
mind? Because
No,
I
of course.
typically do.
Why would you not go?
Well, I didn't go last year because I
Or
was.
why would we
Maybe you
object, I
should go
guess, is
twice
what I'm
this
saying. Why would we not want you to go?
No,
I
we need
don't
to
know.
get
Yeah.
official.
So moved? Do I have to move anything?
So
I'll move whatever.
Okay, so who,
If
so
you need to
Rebecca,
think about
did you
it, I
say?
can
have
get
to
back to Ellen by what date?
Well, as soon as possible, they want their numbers,
Yeah,
but,
so-
so as soon as, I'll sign David, Darrell, and myself up And Rebecca, as soon as you let me know.
Yeah, I definitely want to go. Sign me up for the 2nd, but I have to confirm.
Okay, so
with
just
you.
let me know
Yeah.
as soon as possible.
Let's see, and then,
MHOA annual conference.
so
Yeah.
you'll be going to that.
And I'll be going to
Mark.
that.
Perfect.
Excellent. Let's bring back good stuff. Okay, so I think we have covered everything, and Rick, we're just going to do signing of plans and warrants. That's it.
Do the soil testimony.